Today in Real Life Archives, Kevin Mitnick, the ghost hacker.
Today, we are exploring the absolutely thrilling, almost unbelievable story of the world's most famous hacker, Kevin Mitnick. You might know him by his handle, Condor. For years, this guy was literally the FBI's most wanted cyber fugitive. And the authorities? Well, they were so terrified of him, they actually believed he was this sort of mythic, untouchable figure who was capable of launching nuclear weapons just by whistling a specific tone into a payphone. Crazy, right? But as we'll discover, his absolute greatest weapon for penetrating multi-billion-dollar corporations wasn't actually some brilliant piece of complex code. Nope. It was his profound, almost scary understanding of human psychology. We're going to break down exactly how he pulled off some of the most audacious exploits in all of cybersecurity history. But before we get into all the heavy technical details, I want you to stop and ask yourself a really fundamental question. Think about it. What is the actual weakest link in any computer security system? Is it an outdated firewall, maybe a misconfigured router, or is it poor encryption? To truly answer that question about the weakest link, we have to look at Mitnick's real superpower, which was social engineering. Long before phishing emails became this everyday nuisance we all deal with, Mitnick was out there pioneering the art of manipulating people to gain access to highly restricted information. He understood something absolutely crucial. The weakest link is always the human being. Always. You can literally have the best, most expensive technology in the world, but it's completely useless if a human operator can just be persuaded to hand over the digital keys. He exploited very specific psychological triggers. You see, people naturally want to be helpful. We have this initial inclination toward trust. We really don't like saying no, and let's be honest, we all love to be praised. Mitnick actually started testing these triggers when he was just 12 years old. Living in Los Angeles, he decided he wanted to ride the bus for free. But instead of trying to forge a ticket, he simply walked right up to a bus driver and, putting on an innocent face, pretended he was doing a school project. He asked the driver where he could buy the very specific ticket punch they used. And guess what? The driver just told him. Mitnick then went and dug through the trash next to the bus depot, found a bunch of unused transfer slips, punched them himself, and rode the LA transit system completely for free for years. He learned a massive lesson early on. If you just ask for information under a highly plausible pretext, people will usually just hand it right to you. And this next story brilliantly illustrates the real-world massive corporate impact of that exact same concept. In 1979, when Mitnick was only 16 years old, he targeted a highly secure computer system called the ARC over at Digital Equipment Corporation, or DEC. He decided he wanted their proprietary operating system source code. So did he spend months in a dark basement trying to crack their cryptography? No way! He just picked up the phone, he called up the system administrator, boldly posing as a lead developer named Anton Chernoff. He used all of this internal corporate jargon that he had obsessively studied so he would sound entirely authentic, and he just casually claimed he was having some trouble logging in. The administrator, acting on that natural desire to be helpful to a supposed colleague, simply created an account and gave a 16-year-old Mitnick a password right over the phone. While DEC initially claimed there were millions of dollars in damages, the U.S. attorney later admitted the real cost to go in and fix all those security holes was about $160,000, and it all stemmed from one simple, confident phone call. So Mitnick's skills rapidly evolved, and his endless, relentless curiosity eventually turned him into a full-blown fugitive. When a warrant was issued for his arrest in 1992 after he violated his supervised release, Mitnick didn't just hide out somewhere. He essentially vanished into the telecommunications network itself. Going back a bit, by 1981, as a teenager, he had already infiltrated Pacific Bell's Cosmos system. He pulled this off by exploiting the physical switches in the telecom network, which literally gave him the power to intercept and reroute phone calls at will. By the time he actually went on the run in the 90s, he used this incredibly deep knowledge of telecom infrastructure to become a true ghost in the wires. For 2.5 years, he evaded the entire FBI by constantly moving across states, assuming entirely false identities, and using cloned cell phones. He figured out how to intercept the unique identifying codes of legitimate cellular accounts and reprogrammed his own devices. So if the authorities tried to trace his phone signal, it would point to some totally innocent third party miles and miles away. He even managed to tap into the actual phone lines of the very FBI agents who were investigating him. At one point, he famously left a box of donuts for them at their stakeout just to let them know, hey, I'm always one step ahead of you. I mean, the sheer nerve of that is incredible. And the absolute audacity of his methods during this time is just astounding. While he was living off the grid as a fugitive in Denver, Mitnick decided he wanted the source code for the brand new Motorola Microtech Ultralight. To put that into perspective, this was basically the iPhone 15 of the 1990s. He wanted it specifically so he could modify the phone to disable its connection to cell towers, which would mask his location entirely. So during a brief 15-minute walk home from his day job at a law firm, using nothing but his cell phone, he called Motorola's 800 number. He used a series of pretext social engineering calls to smoothly bounce around different departments, eventually convincing an employee that he was a colleague in desperate need of help. By the time he turned the key to unlock his front door, he had convinced that employee to pack up and send Motorola's highly guarded proprietary source code directly to a remote server he secretly controlled in Colorado. Think about that. 15 minutes, zero malicious code, just talking. Now, Mitnick's insatiable appetite for advanced software would eventually be his undoing, leading to an infamous Christmas Day attack in 1994 against a renowned security expert named Tsutomu Shimomura. Shimomura was a leading, highly respected researcher on cellular network security, and he possessed the exact code Mitnick desperately wanted. But because Shimomura's systems were heavily fortified by a real expert, Mitnick knew he couldn't just rely on smooth-talking social engineering. He had to pivot. Instead, he unleashed a highly complex TCP session hijack. This was a technical marvel that was entirely unheard of out in the wild at the time. We can actually break this brilliant attack down into 3 distinct, highly calculated phases: sequence number prediction, silencing the server with a SYN flood, and finally, IP spoofing. Let's look at the architecture of Shimomura's network. Mitnick's ultimate target was a machine called the X-terminal. Now, this X-terminal had a special trust relationship with another machine known as the trusted server. Because they inherently trusted each other, the X-terminal would actually allow the trusted server to execute remote commands without ever asking for a password. It's kind of like an exclusive VIP club where the bouncer just waves you in because he knows your face. Mitnick realized that if he could somehow position himself as the attacker and perfectly impersonate that trusted server, he could bypass the passwords entirely. But to do that, he had to intercept the digital secret handshake between the two machines. There was a massive problem with that plan, though. If Mitnick just started sending forged messages pretending to be the trusted server, the real trusted server would inevitably receive the replies from the X-terminal, realize something weird was going on, and immediately send a reset packet to kill the connection. So Mitnick had to completely take the real server out of the equation. To prevent it from blowing his cover, Mitnick bombarded the real trusted server with what's called a SYN flood. Essentially, this means he completely filled up the server's connection queue with a bunch of half-open connections. Back then, early operating systems were highly vulnerable to this kind of overload. Mitnick effectively gagged the trusted server, muting it completely so it couldn't respond to any network traffic whatsoever. Okay, so with the real server effectively silenced, Mitnick initiated the final phase, IP spoofing. He sent a connection request to the target X-terminal, but he used the disabled server's IP address as his return address. The X-terminal, thinking everything was fine, replied with an acknowledgement. But here's the catch. Because the reply was sent to the silenced server, Mitnick couldn't actually see the response. He was flying entirely blind. To complete the handshake and get in, Mitnick had to send back an exact sequence number to confirm the connection. Because he had spent a lot of time silently studying the target machine beforehand, he discovered its sequence numbers incremented by exactly 128,000 every single second. Keep in mind, doing this kind of complex mathematical sequence prediction in 1994 without any of our modern computing power was incredibly difficult. It really highlights the absolute genius of his raw technical skills, right alongside his social engineering. By perfectly predicting those sequence numbers, he blind-fired the exact right mathematical response, successfully forged a digital ID badge, and gained total password-free access. He completely owned Shimomura's system. Let's look at Part 4, Captura and Redemption, the White Hat Legacy. Now, that Christmas Day attack was an absolute masterpiece of technical hacking for sure, but it was also a fatal mistake. Shimomura's firewall had actually recorded the anomalous activity. Enraged that he'd been hit, Shimomura teamed up with the FBI. And over the next 2 months, this incredible, high-stakes virtual manhunt took place. Shimomura used his own white hat hacking skills to track Mitnick's digital footprints. He patiently traced the connections through multiple states, eventually narrowing the hacker's signal down to a specific cellular telephone site in Raleigh, North Carolina. Armed with a physical cell frequency detector, Shimomura literally walked the streets of Raleigh for 2 days until he pinpointed Mitnick's exact apartment building. The incredible chase finally ended on February 15, 1995. When the FBI and Shimomura ultimately burst through his door at 2 o'clock in the morning, a cornered Mitnick didn't put up a fight. He just looked at the man who had finally outsmarted him and greeted his rival with these famous, almost incredibly respectful words. "Hi, Tsutomu, congratulations." Mitnick was subsequently sentenced to over 5 years in federal prison. And get this, that included 8 solid months in solitary confinement, simply because a judge was falsely convinced that Mitnick really could start a nuclear war just by whistling launch codes into a prison payphone. It sounds like a movie, but it actually happened. But during his time in prison, the global hacker community rallied around him with the famous Free Kevin movement. They recognized that his exploits, while highly illegal, were driven by a profound curiosity and puzzle-solving drive, not by financial gain. After serving his time, Mitnick completely transformed his life, and his legacy today is one of deep respect within the industry. He became an elite white hat consultant. He founded Mitnick Security Consulting, and even served as the chief hacking officer at KnowBe4, dedicating the entire rest of his life to blocking the exact same vulnerabilities he once exploited. He spent his final decades running advanced penetration tests, literally teaching the world's largest Fortune 500 companies how to defend themselves against the very tactics he helped invent. Talk about a redemption arc. Kevin Mitnick sadly passed away in 2023, but his incredible legacy fundamentally changed how we view information security. He proved time and time again that no matter how incredibly complex our firewalls or encryption algorithms get, the ultimate, unpatchable vulnerability is human trust. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Can human nature ever truly be patched against social engineering, or will we always, inevitably, be the weakest link in the chain? I'd love to hear your take on this, so be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And please, don't forget to subscribe to Real Life Archives for more amazing explainers just like this one. See you next time.
This is just one story. There are many more you wouldn't believe. Subscribe for the next one.